Nehemiah upon you, Jerusalem, stand and face Jerusalem. Blessing of the new moon. Barakatah Yahweh. Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Asherah. Nathan Lanawa. HaKadash. Ba'Shalom. Tawada. Amen. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives us the new moon in peace. Thank you, so be it. For Ha'ayim Ha'ad Asherayim Akkad, Psalm 121. Anya Harayim Ayanyam Ya O Harayim Mayan Yabawa Isaiah Yabawa Mayahawa Shaisha Shamayim Wa'arataza La'a Yanathan Lamawat Regalia Yala'a Yanawam Shashamarka Hana La'a Yanawam Wala'a Yayashan Shashwama Yasharella Yahweh Tazalia Yahweh Shamaria Yahweh Select Tazalia Ayel Ya Yum Ya Yawamum Hashamash La'a Hakaya Wayarat La'a Balayala Yahweh Yashamaria Makal Ra Yashama Napasha Yahweh Yashama Hawalakia Wabawaya Ma'itha I Walam Basham Yahweh Shai So Wada Amen.
Psalm 121. I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help comes from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. You will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth, even forevermore.
Amen. Shema Yasharella, hail Israel. Shema Yasharella, Yahweh, Allahayanawa, Yahweh, Akkad. Shema Yasharella, Yahweh, Allahayanawa, Yahweh, Akkad. Shema Yasharella, Yahweh, Allahayanawa, Yahweh Akkad.
Deuteronomy 6:4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our power is one Lord.
Amen. To apply Yahweh, the Lord's Prayer. Abiyanawa, Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash, Chaya, Shamka, Yahweh, Malakwithka, Saba'ah, Ratazawanka, Haya, Aisha, Ba'arataza, Ka, Bashamayim, Nathalanawa, Lakam, Yowum, Za, Wasalakanawa, Kababwathanawa, Kasalaknawa, Kababwathanawa, Wala'a, Habiyanawa, O, Nasayawan, Abo, Hawashinawa, Marah, Kaya, Laka, Hamalakwa, Waha'ala, Watha Para, La'aywalam, Amen.
Matthew 6:9. After this manner, therefore, pray ye, our Father which art in heaven. Hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, and forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Amen. Ha'aisha Ramata's wife, the 10 Commandments. La'ah, Yahaya, Lakah, Alahayim, Akarim, Al-Pinyah, La'ah, Thaisha, Lakah, Paso, Wala'ah, Thaibadam, La'ah, Alakwaka, Shamwa, Yahweh, Alahayaka, Lashua, Zakar, Ath, Hayawam, Hashabath, La Kodashwa, Kabad, Abiakar, Wa Amakar, La'ah, Thratazak, La'ah, Thana'ap, La'ah, Thaganab, La'ah, Thainah, Shakur, La'ah, Thakamad, Ko, Asherah, La Ra'ayaka, Aman.
Exodus 20:2. I am the Lord thy power, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow nor not subdue them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy power, am a jealous power, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy power in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy power. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy power giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. Amen.
Aman. Shabbat. Be seated. Barakatha Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Asherah, Nathan Lanawa, Par Yahagapan, Thawada Aman, La Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Ath Yasha'Allah. English translation: Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, or the Most High, in the name of Christ, that gives us the fruit of the vine. Thank you, so be it. To Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, with Israel. I mod up on you on Jerusalem, stand and face Jerusalem. Barakatha Yahweh, Hagadol, Rakawam, Aliyah, Wanara'ah, Aliyah Malak, Sho, Shemayim, Wa'aratazah, Wako, Dabayim, Kayayim, Wagum, Hamashiach, Mayahawa, Adawan Nawa, Ahab Nawa, Hapalah, Yahweh Yahweh Shai, Zakar Nawa, Yahweh, Barataza 1, Aimka, Yasha'Allah, Izar Nawa, Banah, Wasap, Yasha'Allah, O, Nanawa, Yum Yun, Aitha, Kaiwamyam, Makwadum, Baba Kushah, Shalat, Mayaka'Allah, Wataz Wadak, Alahayim, La, Maganawa, Rapanawa, Washamar, Alnawa, Ba'akwar, Shalat, Haroka, Sho, Yahweh Shai, Lanawa, Alamadnawa, Rabim, Kakama, Sabawana, Wada'aith, Sho, Dabarka, Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai, Thawada, from Yad, Wa'iwalam, Aman. English translation. Blessed are Yahweh, the great, merciful, mighty, terrible, most high power, King of heaven and earth, and all things living. And also the anointed from Yahweh, our Lord, our friend, the wonderful counselor, Yahweh Shai. Remember us, Yahweh, favorably, your people Israel. Help us build and gather Israel. Most high, we beg you, right now, like the days of old. Please send Michael and the righteous powers. Michael and the righteous powers to protect us, heal us, and watch over us. Mainly send the Spirit of Yahushua to us to teach us much wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of thy word. In the name of Yahushua, thank you always and forever. So be it. Repeat the Hebrew only. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushua that gives to us the law. Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Asherah, Athalanawa, Hathawarah. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushua that gives to us light to see. Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Asherah, Athalanawa, Awar, Lara. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushua. Salat. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushua that gives to us the rams who want to call the people. Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Asherah, Athalanawa, Korun, Ha'ayol, La Korah, Ha'ain. Shabbat. Be seated. All right. Shalom. Shalom. Peace and blessings to the brothers and sisters, those who are watching live on the teleconference, those who are listening or watching on the live stream, I should say. Peace and blessings. Shalom. This is the new moon. This is the 10th new moon of our calendar year. At the same time as I'm saying happy new moon, we're also saying happy feast of the dedication, or Hanukkah in the Hebrew, because we're still within those 8 days leading up to the closing on Tuesday night. So this is kind of like a very festive week. We had the opening of the service last Tuesday. We have the Sabbath day. Then we have the new moon day. Then we have the closing day coming up Tuesday night. So, you know, in tradition, this would be a very festive occasion, like a very, you know, joyous week that we'll be going through, you know, from the opening and Sabbath and then the new moon. And so there'd be like a lot of good feasting and celebration that will be going on within us as a nation if we were all in tune, if we were all, you know, not so much separated, dislocated, you know, due to just distance, due to the coronavirus and things of that nature. It will be much better for us to join together like we read in Psalms 133. But that's something to look forward to. It's definitely when we get to the kingdom of the Most High, which is going to be here on earth for those who endure and make it to the end. So this is something that you know, we strive to put the kingdom of heaven in us. Let so much that we're trying to wait for it to come for us to get back into the land. It's still something that we're trying to, you know, every day as we labor, every day we continue to fight. We're trying to continue to make that spirit rise up in us as we continue on in these last days in Babylon. So this is the 10th new moon. I will, you know, we usually go through a lot of new moon scriptures, but I've been trying to make it a point to at least just touch on something a little different on the new moons. Probably can bring out some scriptures in the new moons that towards the ending of the class, I'll get the brothers to at least give some new moon verses. But looking at, you know, we went out to camp yesterday and we saw a nice, one of the young kings who you know, who knew about the truth, but, you know, kind of wayward and what he was trying to get himself right and get his spirit together. But we got to understand, as for each and every one of us individually, you know, as we have been called in, especially the men, Yahushua has a duty for us to make sure that we measure up and lead up to, so that we can get our reward in the end, right? So there's many different scriptures and things that kind of reference that, but there's one parable that I want to go into tonight for tonight's class. This is you know, a reflection for me as I look into, you know, what Yahushua is trying to convey in this message and how he wants us to be built up day by day. This is not something that we come in and we just continue to just do the same thing and be lax. We got to be non-stagnant and kind of elevating, because there's a lot of labor that's involved. So I'm going to go into the Gospels in the book of Matthews. Book of Matthews and the 20th chapter. Dr. Zach, make sure, you know, you get a couple new moon scriptures for when this is done, so that we can make sure we touch on that. But I wanted to go into this first. So Matthew's the 20th chapter. So I'm going to start at verse 1. It's not too many verses. I think I'm going to go down to verse 16 and just go through this. So this is Matthew, the 20th chapter, verse 1. It says, "For the kingdom of heaven is like unto a man that is an householder, which went out early in the morning to hire laborers into his vineyard." Right? So when we read the gospel, we know that Yahushua likes to always throw out parables as it pertains to the children of Israel. Anytime you see when it's talking about the kingdom of heaven, it's talking about the children of Israel. It's not talking about the specific location. It's not talking about when we in our glory. It was talking about us at that moment. We are the kingdom of heaven. We are personification of the kingdom of heaven. So in this case, he says, for the kingdom of heaven is like a man. Yahushua is that man. He's the householder, right? That is now presiding over us as a people, over us as a nation, right? But in order for us to live up to that nation, we have to be built up, right? We have to go and make sure we do the work that's necessary to till or teach the people in order for them to grow up to be a good vine or a good branch within Yahushua's tree, right? So I'm gonna read it again. For the kingdom of heaven, the people, is like unto a man that is an householder, which went out early in the morning to hire laborers into his vineyard, right? So that's how you got like the day laborers, right? You got to either construction somewhere, you have something here. You usually see the northern tribes that are usually hanging out at the supermarkets. Some southern kingdoms are there, but it's usually the northern tribes that's there. And they hanging out and they're waiting. They got their book bag and they got their little tools and they're waiting for somebody to come pick them up. They'll go take them to a site or take them to a job, whether it be at your house or somewhere else that you may use their services for that day. So this is like Yahushua now looking to go out and seeing who's available to put in the work, who's available and ready to work. Not everybody wants to work. You got some people who just like to just sit around all day and play video games. You want to sit around and just watch TV all day, sit around and just listen to music, or sit around and smoke weed or just drink, right? That's what they want to do. That's what their day is filled up with. Whereas you have others who are looking for work. They're looking to get themselves entangled with something that's going to be productive, right? So as it says here again in verse 1, for the kingdom of heaven is like unto a man that is an householder, which went out early in the morning to hire laborers into his vineyard, right? So he has a plot of area. He has a certain section that he needs work to be tilled. Verse 2, and when he had agreed with the laborers for a penny a day. So he went out and he found some laborers, had a discussion with them, talked to them, explained to them what is needed and what is necessary. And they agreed to say, I can do that work. I have the skills to do that work. Or he probably told them what things that they needed and what things, what measurements, so forth and so on. And they came into an agreement. Once you come into an agreement, then you got to settle on your pay, right? Well, how long I'm going to do this for? How much am I going to get paid? Yahushua says in the parable that the laborer agreed, or the laborers agreed for a penny a day, right? So we can't think of it in today's times when we talk about minimum wage, and minimum wage maybe $6.15 or $6.50 or whatever the case may be. Going back, you know, thousands of years, that penny a day might have measured up to what our standards are today. But that's not the problem, because these laborers knew what was necessary to be done, and they agreed for the penny. It wasn't too short, right? Too much. They said, okay, this is what is good. All right, fine. They shook hands, and now they went to go do the work, right? So read the verse 2 again. And when he had agreed with the laborers for a penny a day, he sent them into his vineyard, right? So what this is symbolic of is the same thing of us coming to this truth, right? Let's go to John 15:16. We read this just last night at camp. John 15:16. Yakazak, read that when you get that Bible Kushah. St. John chapter 15, verse 16.
St. John chapter 15, 16.
Mm-hmm.
You have not chosen me, but I have chosen you, ordained you that you should go and bring forth fruit, and that your fruit should be made. Whatsoever we shall ask of the Father in my name, he may give it to you.
Right. So now what is he saying here?
He's saying that God has chosen you, the Most High God has chosen you, has not chosen you.
Uh-huh.
And go forth and bring fruit.
Mm-hmm.
You need to bring other people into this truth.
Right. So it says he ordained you, meaning he commanded you, said, listen, this is what I need you to go do. Once I've chosen you to come and do this, give you this knowledge, give you this instruction, now I'm commanding you to go out there and bring forth fruit. That's your job, right? So when the man of the household says, listen, I'm going to go hire day laborers, it's the same thing where he's now choosing who he wants. And once you come in and once you're now to make that agreement on what it is you want to get paid, now I'm going to instruct you on where you need to be. Now I'm going to say you need to go over here and do this wall. Now I'm going to tell you to go fix that sink. Now I need to tell you to go now and dress, make sure the frame for the vineyard so that the grapes can grow is high enough that it won't cause the foundation to mess up. So I'm giving you those instructions. I'm giving you orders of what to do as I'm going to pay you, right? So that's what Yahushua is saying. You have not chosen me. You didn't choose the job. I chose you for the job, right? And then I'm now commanding or ordaining you to go and bring forth fruit, meaning get the job done, right? Which is to go out there and teach. So this is the same thing that we're reading here back in Matthew 20, right? Let's go back to Matthew 20. So back in Matthew 20, it says in verse 2 again, and when he agreed or had agreed with the laborers for a penny a day, he sent them into his vineyard. The vineyard is symbolic of what? The world, which is symbolic of what? The people that's out there in the cities and the highways and byways, right? He's using a vineyard. The Lord likes to we always touch on this. He likes to use things that was cultural to us as a people. whether we were shepherds or whether we were farmers. He uses that parable in order to convey the message. So even though it's saying a vineyard here, it's really talking about us going out into the world, into the cities and the highways and the byways, the suburbs, to get this truth out, right? It says in verse 3, and he went out, and when he went out about the third hour and saw others standing idle in the marketplace, right? So now as he's now hired some people, he still got to get more people, right? So what? Now the third hour he goes out and he sees other people just standing around idle, not doing much, right? Sometimes when we out at camp, we see people that's just what? Just hanging out downtown. They ain't doing nothing. We're like, brother, what you doing? Oh, come listen to this, right? Or they just going up and down the block, right? What are you doing? Man, I got to go over here. No, you don't. You just been going up and down the block. You just buying time, doing nothing. So now here Yahushua says, hey, I see you idling here in the market. I got something for you. You need to come over here, right? Verse 3 again, and when he went about the third hour and saw others standing idle in the marketplace, and said unto them, go ye also into the vineyard, and whatsoever is right, I will give you. And they went their way, right? So now here it is, the first group, they agreed for a penny a day. So now he's seen his other group, and he said, listen, I need you to go work in my vineyard. Whatever is right, whatever I see you do, I'll settle that later on. All right, cool. They agreed without hesitation, and now they're going to go and do the work in the vineyard, right? So it's like going into a company, going into an office, corporation, right? You go for the interview, you sit down, they say, this is the task at hand. You say, okay, cool. You understand it. And then once they agree, so listen, we want to hire you. What's the next step? Settle on the pay. How much you going to pay me for my year, for my wages, right? Now, when you go in, he may say, I'm giving you $75,000 for the year, right? Or I'm paying you $20 an hour. You may go in and say, listen, I'm going to give you 22. You agreed on the 20. The 20 seemed feasible to you. You agreed on the 22. The 22 seemed feasible to you. Now you got to go and do your work, right? But now as you're doing your work, even though you agreed on it, you still want to now what? Measure up to what your pay is, right? Because you know they're looking at to see if your work is now measuring up to what I'm now giving you. That's the same thing they do in Esau's system. Esau now makes sure that you're doing $20 worth of work, or you're doing $22 worth of work. If not, or if you're in a disagreement, then now we got to come back and renegotiate. And usually when you come back and renegotiate, it can go either way, right? You say, listen, I think I should get a raise, right? And you're like, a raise? Hold on, but your work ain't measuring up for you to get a raise. How you coming to me get a raise? Well, I seen him get a raise. Okay, sure. And what happens? They'll usually either start marking you and now either trying to get you out, or they'll compensate you if your work is good, right?
Sometimes they do more.
Exactly. Sometimes they do want you to do more than what you want to be paid for, right? But here's the interesting thing, right? In certain companies, when a person goes in, let's say you may have a passion about a job. You see, you're a photographer or you're an assistant for a lawyer, whatever the case may be, you may have a passion. And then you need somebody, you see somebody now is either they sick or what have you. You know, the job got to get picked up. That work still needs to get done. So somebody will say, listen, you know what? I'll take his work. Give me his work, because I know it got to get done. If that don't get done, it's going to mess the whole company up, right? In our cases, when we go to work in Esau's system, we don't really care about the company like that. We just want to go get paid. We just want money that's paid for our food, raiment, and shelter. We're not that vested in the company as though we know that they're using us to further on their deeds and make sure that their stockholders and everything is well taken care of, or what have you. But we just want to get paid just to make our ends meet. When you now going into a company that you got an investment in, like you really passionate about it, then that's when you're going to be able to say, you know what, I'll do the extra work because I'm willing to do it, right? But that's not always the case, right? So in this case, Yahushua has now set it up on agreements that people have agreed to for doing the work for his vineyard. So verse 4 again, he said unto them, go ye also into the vineyard, and whatsoever is right I will give you. And they went their way. Again, he went about the 6th hour and ninth hour, and did likewise. So throughout the day, he's hiring people, and they're agreeing, and they're going and doing the work. No problem, right? Verse 6, and about the 11th hour, he went out and found others standing idle, and said unto them, why stand ye here all the day idle? Same question. What are you doing? Why are you out here following after this philosophy, or doing this thing over here, playing a 3-card Molly, or wasting your time talking about you want to be this type of an entertainer where you pass your prom? But what are you doing, right? Especially when someone sees something in you that's better than what you're doing at the time, right? You just idle. It says in verse 7, they said unto him, because no man hath hired us, he saith unto them, go ye also into the vineyard, and whatsoever is right, that shall ye receive. So they out there and they said, listen, nobody hired us. Nobody came and pulled up the truck and said that they needed this job done or that job done. So he said, okay, I got that covered. Go into the vineyard and y'all start working, right? And whatever the time is right, whatever I see fit, that's what I'm going to pay y'all. And they agreed to it. So now if you went to go work and you was paying them a half a penny and he was paying them a penny, everybody agreed to whatever the terms was. So nobody can complain, right? Once you make your agreement, once you stand on that, you stand on that. Esau's system is messed up because you see it now in society. When folks do that, we was talking about this last week, where you have some people who may go out and they may do such a great job that they mad now that they want to get paid way more than what they first agreed upon, right? Because that's how Esau's system works. There's always these back doors and these now renegotiations that changes and alters the contract. But in this case, the contract is the contract. The agreement is the agreement. Yahushua set the term. You can't now try to come back and buck up to Yahushua when you want to now get more than what you was initially had agreed upon, right? So now it says this in verse 7 again. They say unto him, because no man hath hired us. He said unto them, go ye also into the vineyard, and whatsoever is right, that shall ye receive. So when even was come, the Lord of the vineyard said unto his steward, call the laborers and give them their hire, beginning from the last unto the first, right? So now it's payday, right? We know we got our law where when you go and do a work, you're supposed to get paid what? At the end of your day, right? Esau pays us at the end of the week or at the end of the month or at the end of, 2 weeks. It was evening time come, the day's ending, and now you're supposed to go and get your pay. So he had his steward, whoever his overseer was, go call all the workers together. Now I'm going to start distributing out the money, right? From the last unto the first. So the last person that came in, or the last group of people that came in at the 11th hour, they're the ones that's going to get paid first. Then I'm going to go all the way back. We're in Matthew 20. Going to go all the way back to the first person or the first group of people that I hired. Verse 9, and when they came that were hired about the 11th hour, they received every man a penny, right? So now here it is. When they came in, let's just say if it's 12 hours in a day within a work shift, and they came in at the 11th hour, they put in how much hours? 1 hour, right? So now they're going to get the penny, right? They're going to get the same penny that they had agreed upon for who? The folks who came in the beginning of the day. He's been working all day, and now he is about to get his same pay, right? Read again, verse 9. And when they came that were hired about the 11th hour, they received every man a penny. But when the first came, they supposed that they should have received more, and they likewise received every man a penny, right? So now they're looking and paying attention and saying, hold on, though, but I know we agreed on a penny, but this guys came in and they getting the same thing. We put in like how much? Like 11 hours, right? Put in like 10, 11 hours. If he getting a penny, we should get like 7 pennies or something, man. We should get like 5 or something, right? So now brothers are seeing, and of course, they're going to be disgruntled, right? It says in verse 11, and when they had received it, they murmured against the good man of the house, right? So like we said, that they was upset, right? This is not like Esau's job. They can't operate how these entertainers do, or some of these people who work. You can't operate that way in Yahweh-Shai's office. This is the same thing for us. You got some brothers who've been in this truth for how long? Maybe 30 years. 30 years they've been in here, right? Doing the same thing, laboring, going out weekends, 3-4 times a week. Sometimes some brothers go out every day to go out and fish, to go out there and teach, has it in their lives. The reward is what? The pay is what? That you found worthy to receive the kingdom, right? That you found worthy to get to the kingdom. And whatever that thing was that you was Yahweh or the Most High had for you, that's what it was. You can't now be upset when you have someone who comes in 20 years later than you, or 25 years later than you, and then you see him putting in so much work, and you're like, okay, cool, I put in 30 years, but he coming after me, and he's going out there doing certain, and I'm seeing certain brothers gravitating to him, and I'm seeing certain, and then you start getting envious and jealous and covetous. No, we all agreed for what? The kingdom. That's it. We all agreed to be all together in unity, like Psalms 133. We all agreed that we have been conditioned to now hate each other, but now coming into this work, we're supposed to be loving each other. All of those different types of spirits are supposed to be set aside. You can't come in here doing that. And that's what usually happens. Oh, let's go to 1 Peter's. 2 Peter's, Salak, not 1 Peter, 2 Peter's. Nope, it's 1 Peter's. 1 Peter's the 2nd chapter. First Peter is the 2nd chapter and the 1st verse. So it says, wherefore, laying aside all malice and all guile and hypocrisies and envies and all evil speakings, right? So that's that worldly mentality when you come, before you come into the truth. You come in with dispositions. You come in with what you learned in the world coming into this, and you can't do that. You got to set that to the side, right? That way of thinking and that way of work doesn't work here, right? The crabs in the barrel mentality should not work here. But sad to say that it does. Some of those old man thoughts trickle into this, right? Go to the book of Philippians. Go to Philippians. Chapter 1. Check this out, right? This is how you know this trickles in. I think we read this at camp a couple months back. This is Philippians chapter 1, verse 15. Let me know when everybody got it. So it says, some indeed preach Christ, even of envy and strife, and some also of goodwill, right? So a brother came to the camp one time and asked us to say, you know, y'all cool with that camp right there? Y'all cool with those brothers over there? Because sometimes these brothers is like, yo, they don't know nobody else unless for them. And I said, this is not new, right? You can't think that, you know, that's something that is separated, divide us in this last day. Because if you read in the scriptures, this is the same spirit that was amongst the church, within the church back then. And this is what Paul is highlighting, right? It says, some indeed preach Christ, even of envy and strife, meaning some are envious of other men, right? You may see a camp and they may have 5,000 brothers, and you've been laboring for, I don't know, 20 years ahead of your church, and you may not have the same amount of brothers as them. And what happened? Envy sets in. Why that brother got to get 5,000? Why did that he now have many followers after him? I'm out here preaching. I'm out here teaching. I'm out here doing great things. And then you start now having strife, and you start seeing brothers start talking about each other on these video streams, right? You start seeing brothers downing and speaking and pulling bones out closets and doing all kind of stuff, right? So it says, some indeed preach Christ, even of envy and strife, meaning different types of contention, right? And some also of goodwill, where you have brothers who may be in different camps, but that's not a cause of divide. That's still unity. They'll give nice blessings out when they even salute brothers. They'll see, when you see brothers coming down the block that's not in our camp, shalom, brother, how you doing? Da, 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 and they'll keep it moving. They won't speak bad about us. I see them on their channels. They'll speak about the different camps that's not of their own, but they'll still salute those brothers. They have goodwill, good intentions, right? It says, the one preach Christ of contention, not sincerely, supposing to add affliction to my bond. So you have others who will speak about Christ, but teach it in a manner where it now adds contention to other camps. And that's why brothers will come up and ask, well, was y'all cool with those brothers over there? Or I hear these guys say that y'all fake Israelites. I hear this and this over here, right? Because some are preaching Christ of contention. To do what? To add more bonds and more, accusations onto the work that you're doing. When brothers see you, what camp you with? Oh, you're not with ISU? Oh, man, then I don't know. So now it appears to make your job harder because they don't want brothers to now gravitate to you. They don't want people to come to your camp. They want everybody to go to their camp, right? So it says again, for one preach Christ of contention, not sincerely, supposing to add affliction to my bonds. Then it says, but the other of love, knowing that I am set for the defense of the gospel. Meaning that you have others who will now speak about us in admiration, knowing that we are out here laboring for the same thing, right? They'll do it because they know that you have the defense for the gospel. So when I see certain camps, I say, listen, I see the brothers out there. I know they out there defending the truth. They out there defending the truth. We out here defending the truth. So now when they hear or they talk about that camp, no, those is good brothers. Those is brothers out here trying to get this word out. They out here trying to awaken the people to not doing the same thing that they have been doing before. So this is now doing it out of admiration because we know we're all in the same fight. But now check this out, what Paul says. Verse 18, what then? Notwithstanding every way, whether in pretense or in truth, Christ is preached, and I therein do rejoice, yea, and I will rejoice. So now in this case, Paul kind of like, you know what? I don't even hold that to heart. I don't even care if they want to now speak bad about me or speak bad. Long as they preaching Yahushua, which is the will of the Most High, then I don't care, right? Long as they're telling them that they got to keep these commandments and that Christ came and died for us as a people, that's cool. If they want to now bash me specifically and say this, that, and the third, let it be, right? I'm not going to go back and forth with them in that manner because it's going to make the gospel look bad. Let that spirit go. Let them just continue to teach Christ. So it's the same thing in here. We always got to try to make sure that we remove ourselves from those contentions. But even if it's there, we know it's going to be there because we're reading this here in Philippians. If we believe, like it tells you in 1 Corinthians 14:32, that the spirit of the prophets are subject to the prophets. Well, if these men was doing this back then during Paul's time, guess what? It's going to happen again in today's time because that spirit and that vibration is still within some of us as a people. So that's why these things happen, because these spirits still linger on, right? You have some of us who are sincere and some of us who are still doing it out of contention and strife. When is that going to get reckoned? When Yahushua comes back. Why? Because we know he's going to change our spirit. He's going to now tell us about certain things specifically to each and every one of us, and then collectively as a nation, that now we all see the same thing. We all going to be of the same mind like Yahushua and the Most High are. When it comes to this, we're going to then be in unison with them. No more contention. Yahushua and the Most High not in contention, right? Christ didn't go out and say certain things about Michael and the other angels. And he didn't speak bad about them, right? And vice versa. They was all under the same umbrella and finding it the right way. It's just because right now we have Satan to now try to divide us that we have the same thoughts. And it was back then, right? So we're all out here laboring. We're all out here working, fighting these forces that's now troubling the mind to make us have these little sparks and darts thrown at each and every one of us, right? Well, not each and every one of us, but some of us, right?
I mean, it's a lack of understanding of the kingdom or the job that they give them.
Right.
They think it's almost like you have a job to do at a company. Instead of doing your job according to the company's vision, you just going and gossiping. What is he doing? Why is he doing that? So you got gossiping about the same people that's working in the same company as you. It's like the focus is not the vision or the mission of the company, but it's more so gossiping why you're doing your job. It's a lack of understanding of the vision of, in the kingdom that those brothers out there they don't have.
Right.
You know, they make it something like lower than actually what the kingdom is. They
Right.
make it personal on a low level, fighting against this one, saying things about this one, say things about this one. This one is better than that one. This it's like it's a lack of understanding. They miss the vision.
Right. And then even in that, you could look at the 12 because they had a bit of that carnal mind mentality just coming out of the world when they became disciples, because they would ask Yahushua, who's going to be the greatest?
Right.
Who's going to be the greatest? Right. Because now they're looking amongst each other and they're trying to compare one to another, because that's kind of that mentality what we usually like to do. But it's not about that. It's about being sincere and putting in the work. You get your reward, right? You sincere and you put in the work, and then it'll come to it in the end.
And even that, who's the greatest, right? Yahushua knows being greatest is something good. He did not discourage them from being the greatest. Yeah, you should strive to be excellent in the kingdom, in the vision. But the key is he showed you how to do it, but not how they were going about it.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to be the greatest, be the servants. That's how you become great. And he didn't discourage the idea of wanting to be great, but if you really want to be great, he don't want to be great. You got to become the servant. That's just how you do it.
Mm-hmm. Got to do a lot of ministry,
right?
Minister to one another. Go out there and be, as they say, a civil servant, right? Do for the people, right? When you have that mentality, it's not always about you. You're focusing on you when it's about somebody else, right? And then when you're selfless, that makes it even better. That's when those accolades come back, just like Tobit in the book of when you read in the Apocrypha, how he went out and did all these great things and deeds and alms for everybody else, and then when time came, they gave it back to him, right? So much so that he didn't even realize it, because he just thought it was just a thing to do when he went out there and he was burying these men and doing all these good deeds. And then when he fell on hard times, Galatians 6 and 7, you reap what you sow. So he put out good energy, positive things to his brothers and sisters at that time, and it came back. So the Most High Yahushua is great. They watching everything we doing. They seeing the sincerity in our hearts, and they also see the agenda in some people's hearts, because some people are doing it, like we just reading here, not sincerely. They're not all preaching Christ sincerely, right? The reason why Paul said I'm not so much bent on, how they coming at it in this way, because he's looking at it where in a perspective where if I go out there and I teach somebody about keep doing the will of the Most High, and I get 8 people, but all of a sudden my heart turned cold, right? My heart turned cold, and now I'm bugging out with this person here and there. Those 8 people now is in the truth. Most High Yahushua can move me out of the way and let somebody else step in my place, and then it keeps going. Because the whole thing is to get Yahushua's voice out there, right? We've seen it in the past where there's been brothers and sisters who've been in this before, and then what happened? They're not in it no more. And you scratch your head and say, how could you leave this? But because their heart ain't sincere. If your heart ain't right, and if you're not motivated and you're not disciplined to continue on, you're going to be moved out of the way. But now those people that you went out there and taught, they still here, right? So if he's talking all this nonsense about me, and okay, he's slandering me, or he's upset at the structure that we have, or whatever that may be, but he's going out there and he's teaching them, no, we ain't supposed to be keeping Christmas. No, we're not supposed to be eating this. No, we should not be advocating for the Democratic Party. Whatever that is, he's advocating, he's putting that out there. I'm like, yo, that's what he's saying is right for those things. But what he's saying against me, it's a personal thing. So I'm not going to feed into it. I'm going to go out there and teach, like Paul said, right? He sent me not to baptize, but to preach the gospel. That's my mission.
Like even being that saying when Yahushua said, "He that is he that wants to be great should become a servant. Even that's heavy.
Mhm.
There's gems in it that if you gotta be on your P's and Q's to really get the meat of being a servant. Some things, some people may think being a servant is go out there and you serve people and you want people to feel good about you. That's not what it's about. It's about you go out there and fulfill the assignment that the Most High gave you so that the Most High can feel proud about him giving you, that's why Yahushua can go out there, even they ridicule him, they did all kind of bad things. He kept moving because he knows it's not about them. And they need him, but they don't understand it.
Right.
So he go out there and it's like fulfill your mission to the T. Empty yourself out. That's how you serve. You serve out the gift that the Most High put in you, right, to fulfill your assignment.
Right.
It's like empty yourself out, right? Before you get into your casket, you want to make sure it's just your corpse that's just going in. Everything that the Most High put in you as far as your gift, you empty it all out.
Right.
That's how you serve the gift that the Most High put in you to serve the people, right? Granted, the people may not understand it, but you on your job,
Mhm.
and you make the Most High proud because now you fulfill exactly the seed that was planted in you before you even come here. You pretty much did it all.
Right.
That's a service that it's talking about. It's not to go out there and make people feel, say good things about you. Yeah, I mean, if you do good things, some gonna say bad things too. So you gotta take both and keep moving.
I just noted that that's a class topic actually, because there's different levels to and Yahushua kind of touched on all of them. If you just look into what he did in his short life of teaching, not just being over, but of teaching, he touched on all of that when he went out there to do his work in the 3 years that he went to do that. And he tell you that the earth couldn't contain the things that Yahushua did. So in that period of time, and then the things that that's going unseen, he showed us a lot of jewels on how we should carry ourselves, that there may be some things or aspects of it that may be missed, right? Because like you said, and I don't want to go too deep into, like when we go out and teach, we just think that, going out there in the corners or going out there in the YouTube just teaching and just reading the scriptures, that's it. No, that's an aspect of it, but that's not it, right? There's other things that come with going out there and being a shepherd to the flock, right? There's other things that come with that. When Yahushua said, feed the flock, it wasn't just saying, okay, I'm going to go out there and teach and just give them that. Those things are vital, but there's other aspects too, right? So
some people, when we go out there, some people are gonna feel good about it, and then we're gonna feel like, man, this brother got it. Yeah, we feel good about it, but that's not the end result.
Right.
The end result is you gotta keep moving. What if you go to people and they don't like it? What are you gonna backsliding? You gotta keep going, whether they like it or not. You gotta be on your job.
Yep. All right, so let's go back to Matthew 20. Read from 11 again. It says, and when they had received it, the penny that they had agreed to, they murmured against the good man of the house, saying, these last have wrought but 1 hour, meaning worked, but only worked for 1 hour. And thou hast made them equal unto us, which have borne the burden and heat of the day. Meaning, I've been out here toiling for a long time. How is it that they only came in here for 1 hour and they got the same thing as me, the same pay? That don't make sense right now, right? What's going on? So they all now, how many of them that came in verse 2, they're the ones now who are murmuring against Yahushua, verse 13, or the householder, which is symbolic of Yahushua, but verse 13. But he answered one of them and said, friend, I do thee no wrong. Didst not thou agree with me for a penny? Right? Meaning, I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't go outside of the agreement, right? So you may have some people who may come in and they agreed to get the kingdom, but they may want other things along the way that may have not even been a part of that because they see somebody else get something, right? They see now somebody came in 5 years later than them and they received something that they didn't get. But we all going to get the kingdom, right? So now you're murmuring. How is it that this person get? Your mind start playing tricks on you. You know how sometimes people say, well, I prayed for this, but I ain't get it yet. I asked for that and I'm still waiting. So I don't understand like why he didn't give it to me when I asked for it. Or why you start questioning your boss. You start questioning when he's going to give you such and such. But the agreement was already set. So in this case, they had already agreed to the penny. What agreement I made with him or her is of not your concern. Friend, I thought we was good. You signed on the contract and said this is what you wanted to do. You shook my hand. I did. However, it shouldn't be no however. Why what we got going over here concerning you? It doesn't, shouldn't, right? It says, verse 13 again, but he answered one of them and said, friend, I do thee no wrong. Didst not thou agree with me for a penny? Take that thine is and go thy way. I will give unto this last even as unto thee. So I'm going to pay you what I agreed to. Take it and go. I'm going to get him the same thing, right? I ain't do nothing wrong, right? Verse 15, is it not lawful for me to do what I will with my own, right? Meaning, who are you to come tell me what I need to do with my money or what I need to add interest on? You can't do that. That's the same thing when you read in Romans 9, the pot or can the vessel go and speak against the potter and say, why you made me thus and why you did thus? No, you can't do that. That's not your place. There's an order to things. You can't buck up to the higher authority. A parent really never wants to ever hear their child buck up to them, right? When growing up in my era, especially some people we come from, you don't speak to elders at all in that manner, right? So, they say a child should stay in a child's place because that's the order. So now in this regard, the emperor is not on the same level as the householder, right? He set the terms, you agreed, and that's it. You shouldn't now want to come and now bring commotion to him that breaks the agreement. So it says again, is it not lawful for me to do with what I will with my own? Is this I evil because I am good? What kind of wickedness got into you? What kind of spirit got in you that you now upset about what you agreed upon? That's just Satan, right? That's just Satan, because like we read in Philippians, sometimes you get an envious heart, right? Envy comes in, covetousness comes in, strife comes in, right? Sometimes you don't know where these spirits or where these thoughts come from. It's Satan. You got to make sure that you always are able to examine yourself and check yourself about the things that you're doing and the things that you're thinking and the things that you're saying, because it could come back. If you don't check it, it'll begin to fester. Christ said a little leaven will leaven up the whole lump. So in this regard, what got into you? What made your eye evil, right? Because I'm good. I didn't do anything wrong. It's something with you, right? It says in verse 16, so the last shall be first and the first last. For many be called, but few chosen, right? So now even in this regard, when Yahushua uses that last verse, because it's using different parables, it's using different contexts. So in this context, the first one who made the agreement with the penny, the last one who came in the 11th hour, they're getting the same pay. The same way the first came in, the same way the last came in, they're going to be on the same payment scale. But it's not a lot of people that's coming out to do this work, right? But we all getting the same pay. No one is thinking that way. Even today, for me, I've been in this since the 90s. There's brothers that's coming in 2020. And it's some fire brothers that's coming. The zeal, I can see the zeal and remember the zeal when I first came in. And I see them, I'm like, man, these young brothers is doing it. Man, and you kind of want them to go even further than some of the things that you've seen or you've done in the past. Because why? It helps the truth get out. So I'm looking for these brothers to even be pillars, maybe better, but long as we all get the same pay, that's what we're hoping for. That's what the goal is. I'm not going to be evil. I'm not going to have that spirit. I choose not to have that spirit like some of those brothers did in Philippians, because what Paul didn't touch on in that chapter is what the householder or what the Most High in Christ may do to those brothers, right? If you don't continue to try to remove that evil heart out, you could be removed out yourself, right?
It's like when Yahushua said, read the things that you didn't do that I did. This is that's what he's referring to. You know, could be coming now. You touching way more people than Yahushua touched when he was walking here physically.
Right.
Right. So now, because of YouTube, you may be, you know, touching people that's way across, you know, other continents. Right. Just teaching the word. Not that you're greater than him as far as his authority as a king, but the work that he was doing, you can do way more than.
Right. And he didn't feel away when he said it to them, right? You're gonna do greater works than what I've done, right? But does that, like you said, did that make that those brothers who did greater work because they were gonna have more time to do and more opportunity to do things than Yahushua? Does that make them better than greater than Yahushua? No.
He started this stuff to begin with.
Yeah.
He's the founder. He's kind of like
he's a forerunner.
Yeah, the forerunner.
So that's how we now need to observe and look at this, right? We need as many people as we can get to doing this. We should want better fire teachers and better interpreters and brothers who are better counselors, and because it's going to help us now when the opposition, because the opposition is going to come even worse as the days goes on. They're going to come in with slander. I'm expecting something like, I think it was last year when they put out the thing on the TV about the brother and the sister who went out there up in New York and they were shooting, and they said, yeah, see, they was in the Israelite group, and every camp was on notice. Every camp was like, wait, who? What brother and sister in anybody's camp is going out there doing something like that? And every camp is like, nah, people putting out videos, not our camp. Not our camp, not our camp. We don't advocate for anything like that, right? They was fly-by-nighters, but they use that to now want to slander and put a stain on the whole organization, right? So don't think that that's just going to be one thing that's going to happen. When as the days go on, they know who the Most High's elect are. They can see us out there. It's still going to come. Something is going to come even later on, and that's going to put more of a bad stain on us again until it becomes world known as far as for who these people are, who we are, and what our objectives are, right? Go to Matthew chapter 9. Matthew chapter 9. And I'm going to read from 35. So Matthew chapter 9 and 35, it says, and Yahushua went about all the cities and villages, teaching in their synagogues and preaching the gospel of the kingdom and healing every sickness and every disease among the people, right? So again, going back to what we talk about as being a servant, this is the example of being a servant, right? He went everywhere throughout all the cities and villages, teaching, preaching, and healing, right? And then not only here, because in the other verses said that he not only did this, but he was feeding them, like literally feeding them, albeit he had the spiritual power to, you know, manifest more food than what was the quantity that was on hand, but he did that. So now as we are looking at the householder, right? Because sometimes you need an example to see how to get the job done, right? Sometimes you may not have full disclosure on how to do it. So you might, I don't understand. Can you show me? So somebody go and show you how you should cut it, how you should do this. So if you're in the kitchen, how you should get the food and pour the seasonings in and do that. Now, once you observe and you see it, you're like, okay, got it. You got it? I got it. Now they can go out and do the same thing, right? Because they have somebody to show them how to do it. So as we're reading the gospel, and those who were disciples that was with Yahushua, guess what they was doing? Observing him and seeing everything he was doing. So when Yahushua was healing people, you didn't think that they seen Yahushua healing somebody and said, I'm going to go put my hand on somebody too, right? And then, like, that, it don't work. It didn't work. Yahushua, what happened? I did the same thing you did. And he said, man, you ain't got the faith yet. You ain't got faith yet. And for that, you got to go pray and fast, and things will come out better for you. Word. So now he's showing them how to serve, how to minister, how to do the work. right? But now as we're reading this, we see that Yahushua went out and did all these different things, right? Verse 36, it says, but when he saw the multitudes, he was moved with compassion on them because they fainted and were scattered abroad as sheep having no shepherd. So now as he starts to see, granted, he's looking at those who he's teaching that's now coming and following him and healing them, and he's healing them, or those in the synagogues, he's getting some of our people. But then when he's looking at the whole landscape, he said, dang, it's a lot of our people out here that's without knowledge. That's what he says, because they fainted. It's the same thing it says in the book of Isaiah, right? My sons have fainted. They lie at the head of all the streets. Fainted from what? The knowledge of the Most High, right? So they are scattered abroad, scattered into Islam, scattered into the Jehovah's Witness, scattered into Catholicism, scattered into 5%, scattered into being agnostic, scattered into I don't even want to be in anything. This is what we are all now incompetent. So Yahushua is looking back and looking at the grand scheme of things, and he's like, man, it's a lot of my brothers and sisters, a lot of us out here that just don't know.
The thing is, that's heavy. We normally think that, especially in today, we think Esau is our greatest enemy. The nation is the greatest enemy, right? Esau is the evil. That's easy. We know that. Esau can easily be spotted. We know Esau is the evil. We know the nation, they wicked. But the greatest enemy that we have is lack of knowledge. That's why Yahushua said it says in Hosea 4:6, our people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. That's the greatest enemy we got. Esau is just pretty much the stick that is used to punish us when we mess up. Right. He's the evil that is being put in to punish us when we mess up, put us into captivity.
Mm-hmm.
But the greatest enemy we have is ignorance, lack of knowledge. That's how we destroy. And that's what Yahushua saw when you look at the multitude.
So I know I quoted it. To go with this verse, you could just write down Isaiah 52 and 10. I'm sorry, 51 and 20. Isaiah 51 and 20. That says, thy sons have fainted, they lie at the head of all the streets as a wild bull in a net. They are full of the fury of the Lord, the rebuke of thy power. So when it says thy sons have fainted, when you faint, you lose consciousness, you lose sight of what is clear in front of you. So that's what was going on back then. They lost sight of the Most High's knowledge. They lost sight of who they are and what their heritage was. Back then, when you read in Isaiah, it's the same thing that Yahushua is seeing here now in Matthew 9:36, because they have fainted and were scattered abroad, meaning scattered throughout the four corners, scattered throughout the earth, the world. It says, as sheep having no shepherd. So when you have a sheep that doesn't have a shepherd, what happened? It wanders. You start wandering all over the place. Start wandering into places that it need not to be. Wandering into a danger zone where wolves and things are now there and they get eaten, right? So Yahushua now was moved with compassion on all the people and was like, man, this is terrible.
So fainted don't actually mean you fell out.
No. Because when you read it in Isaiah 51 and 20, it says, thy sons have fainted, they lie at the head of all the streets as a wild bull in a net. How could they be wild? A wild bull is frantic, it's doing all kind of stuff. But if you faint, you out. You just laying down on the ground. You ain't doing nothing, right? You might be breathing, but you're not wild. You're not going bucking, going crazy. So it's not literal, it's figurative, right? To the mind that says your mind is lost and you wild out here, right? So you fainted from reality. You fainted from the Most High, right? It's the same thing how we use hip talk when we talk about sleep, right? When we say, when Paul talks about it in 1 Thessalonians, the 5th chapter, as far as for being not children who are at sleep, not literal sleep, but in the mind, right? Because if you sleep in the mind, that means you're not paying attention. You could be alive and break and you walking in places, but you so out of it that you're not seeing the traps and death right in front of you. right? So this is kind of what the Most High Yahushua is trying to articulate in very poetic words and very poetic terms, right? To say that this is how we are lost people out there in the world. Somebody to hand up?
I was saying that when I said ignorance is our greatest enemy, and I meant that because once we have the knowledge of the Most High, you even Satan, you can tell Satan you stay behind the Satan. Right? That's when you have the knowledge. You can tell Satan to stay behind.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
That's when you have the knowledge.
Yep.
So Satan is not your greatest enemy. Ignorance is our greatest enemy.
Right. And that should go without saying as far as for, like Nehemiah chapter 5, verse 9, where it talks about, the enemies are the heathen or the nations, right? They are enemy. However, like Khan is bringing out, without having this, you are enemy to yourself. Remember, we was reading in Acts, and Paul and the brothers was going out teaching, and he said that they opposed themselves. How can you oppose yourself, right? Somebody just coming and bringing about Christ, and what happened? They didn't want to hear it, right? So when they discredited the teachings of Paul, Paul says that they opposed themselves. So now you are doing harm to yourself because salvation is being spoken to you or taught to you and you're rejecting it. It's not that Esau or such and such is coming and doing this. You are now rejecting yourself because we had all been covenanted to be the Most High servants. And now you're saying, I don't want to be a servant of the Most High. I don't want to keep that covenant that Abraham had. I ain't following that. I'm going to follow my own thing. I'm keeping this right here. You opposing yourself because you was called into this. You was created to be this. And now you opposing that which was ordained for you to be. And then now you're going to go side with this one or you're going to follow that. And then, that's second and third order of effects of the deceit, of the judgment.
It's like when you read in one more comment, when you read in Genesis, Joseph got so much knowledge. He said he made me father of Pharaoh.
Right.
Let's imagine that. He made me father of Pharaoh. Joseph was not father of Pharaoh in knowledge.
Right.
He's son-in-law of Pharaoh.
Right.
But that's what we can do. We get the enemy behind us and then we teach them.
Right. Got to be cunning.
Yeah.
Right. It's a cunning thing to be able to do what Joseph did or some of the things that Daniel did or, those who were servants of Most High, but was deep in the belly of the beast to be able to still walk that path and then have those around you in admiration, right? That's hard. That's not easy to do for most folks.
That's what you got to do. When you got the knowledge of the Most High, you walking with the Most High. You on that level,
right?
You out there, the Most High is dealing with you because you're diligent, and the Most High open up doors.
Right, and that's why when you, as you said, as far as for the Most High is working with you, because these are gifts that you read about in Corinthians. Everybody don't have that same gift, that same niche to be able to stand in front of someone or to stand in opposition to something, or even within their own brotherhood to be able to exercise that same talent or gift. Is given by measure to whom the Most High wants it to be, in order for it to elevate. Right, I always say it could be one brother out of about 5,000 that the Most High is going to give that talent, that gift for everybody to benefit from, because we're a part of one body, right? But to have that skill, it takes a cunning person to do exactly what you just articulated. So now back in Matthew 9 and 36 again, but when he saw the multitudes, he was moved with compassion on them. Now it says he was moved with compassion on them, right? He wasn't hating them. He wasn't condemning them. It said he was moved with compassion, not on those who was now coming into the truth or had come into the truth. He was still looking at those who were still out there in the world. Moved with compassion on them, seeing them in their dead state. He was like, man, I hate to see my people like this, right? That's what he was seeing. It says, move with compassion on them because they fainted and were scattered abroad as sheep having no shepherd. Verse 37. Then saith he unto his disciples, the harvest truly is plenteous, but the laborers are few, right? It's a lot of us, innumerable map, sand of the sea, stars in heaven. That's how many of us is out there. To receive that 1/3, that 144, that's a tall task when you only have but so few pure spirited brothers or sisters to want to go out there and do this, right? So Yahushua seeing it, the harvest truly is plenteous, but the laborers are few. From when we first came in, man, I didn't know at the time when we first came, I didn't even know, I probably think it was only one other camp. One other camp that was probably in city of Philly when we first started coming down, like say 2004, 2000, I don't know, like about 2004. One other camp. Now, what happened, right? What we just read in the chapter 20, where he's going in the 6th hour, the 8th hour, the 9th hour, the 10th hour to do what? Get day laborers. So now it's more day laborers out there. Now it's more camps out there. So now when we going out there, before we was the only camp on the block. Now it's 5, 6 camps on the block because more day laborers came in to do what? To go out there and make ready for the harvest, right? And then it may be another camp that may show up within 3 months of Yahushua coming back. And you like, hey, where they come from? And at 11th hour to get that same pay, to get that same reward. And everybody should be happy. Because as many camps as you see, that means that that number of 144 of men is being met, right? It's increasing day by day. We don't want to be the only ones and saying, okay, you have, I don't know, let's just say somebody got 13,000 men in their camp. 13,000, you still got a whole lot. So if there's other camps that can beef up that number and do this quicker, why not? Why not? Why would you be selfish enough to just think that everything got to go? No.
It's happening without, any big noise. Like nobody really paying attention.
Right.
But it's happening.
Yep.
Or you're 5 in this corner right there.
Yep.
30 in this corner. Across the world in United Kingdom or whatever.
Yep.
This is 15 over
Yep.
there. 30 over there. Mosai's counting all his numbers.
Yep.
Right? All the numbers are counting. Before you know it, boom. People won't even see it coming.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, even sometimes we don't even see it coming. We start looking at some certain videos, and you're like, whoa, it's a camp down in Colombia? Wow. Colombia? Wow. This truth is getting out. And the median that we have now makes it easy and accessible. That they can now learn the same precepts that before, when I first came in, you had to go physically into the school, right? We didn't even have teleconferences, let alone a live stream of a YouTube. You physically had to go to the school and sit there. The classes had to be packed. Now you got, I'm seeing the chat room right now. You got brothers in their comfort, sisters in the comfort of their own homes watching this. Imagine those who are sitting in these remote places doing the same thing. You probably got somebody in Ghana or Sierra Leone or Australia or down in Peru that's now tapping into just Google searching, and they stumbling onto something like, oh, what's this? Let me check this out. And at the same time that I used to be on the corners and we had to walk past the camp, now they're just walking past the stream. And that's the beauty of how something that can be so divisive, something that can be an evil to you, could also be a blessing, right? There's a gift and a curse in this tool that we have, right? But if you use it for more righteousness than wickedness, then Godspeed, right? So back in 9:37, then he said unto his disciples, the harvest truly is plenteous, but the laborers are few. Pray ye therefore the Lord of the harvest that he will send forth laborers into his harvest. So now what he's saying is, pray, send up prayers to the Most High Yahushua that he'll begin to awaken more brothers, that they can come in and do the same labor as those who were there before. That's why we say when we come in, your objective is to fulfill that which is in John 15:16. I ordained you to go and bring forth more fruit. The same thing in the parables. He's giving you a talent or a token. You got to go and put usury on your talent or token, because this harvest, it's a lot of work. Imagine you going out to a vineyard and it's like 15 acres and it's only 5 of y'all. And y'all got to go out there and start picking the fruits off the. It's like, man, we're gonna be out here all like almost a good month. But now if you start seeing about 500 brothers start coming up behind you, like, oh, we can get this done in about an hour. We'd be done and to go have some food, get some drinks, and kick back. That's what we want. We want more people to come in to now go into more highways and byways. But in order to do that, more brothers have to be more alert and studied, getting more precepts, right? To be able to speak of the things that are necessary when the time presents itself. Same advice we was trying to give young Jermaine out there in the spirit, as far as for you got to put your study time in to understand all of the things that's going to come upon you when you out there laboring, when you out there picking, right? It's like a rose, right? You out there trying to get the rose, but what happens when you try to get a rose? Huh? You get pricked here, like, oh man, you know, a little nick over here, though, lick over here, but you want to get the rose. The rose is a beautiful flower. You want to get it and put it together, but you got to go through so much just to get that nice rose. So you go through you bear through the chances of getting, you know, pricked, whether it be from the cops, whether it be from people and they say certain things and all kind of things happen, but you still got to go out there and get that role. You still got to go and labor, right? So, all right. So I just wanted to touch on that little quick parable. You got your new moon one? Numbers 28 and 11. All right, so let's end off with some couple new moon verses. Numbers 28 and 11. This is an interesting one.
In the beginning of your month, you shall offer a burnt offering unto the Lord. The young bullock, 1 ram, 7 lambs, in the first year without spot.
It's your verse, brother.
It's a way of saying that at the beginning of the month, at the beginning of the new moon,
Mm-hmm.
burnt offering unto the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 bullocks, 1 ram, 7 lambs, first year without spot. In other words, no blemish. Come to the Lord and
Mm-hmm.
without any spot, no sin.
Right. So in the new moons, if you look at this at the beginnings of every one of our months, right, which would be the new moon, we would go and make a sacrifice or an offering. You read further down because verse 11 just didn't end it, but there's other verses down that pertain to the offerings that we did on the new moons. Right. But now we know we still have to come together on the new moons, but the temple is not here. The Levitical priesthood is not here. So those offerings that we did back then, we can't do now until we get back into the kingdom. Right. So now, as it pertains to the offerings, the sacrifices and things that we did, that's all gone. The physical offerings with the animals. But there's another offering that we still do, even on the new moons. And every day, right? This is Romans chapter 12. Romans chapter 12, verse 1. Let me know when everybody got it. So Romans 12 and 1, it says, I beseech you, or I beg you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice. So like the brother brought out, when we did the sacrifices before, they were of the first year, they were holy, without blemish, without spot, right? So now that is gone. So with that in mind and remembering what we used to do in ancient times, what we used to do before times, Paul is now saying, I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that ye present your bodies, not the ram, not the bullock, but your bodies a living sacrifice. At this time when Paul was speaking, temple was still there. We had synagogue. We could go and keep the feast days and back in Jerusalem. But now Yahushua was preparing him for what was to come after, right? When the temple would be destroyed. The sacrifices now would not be with the hands of a bullock or a ram or a goat or what have you. It would be with our own bodies. Not that we would go and keep it like how some of us did when we worship these false gods, by putting our children on the fire and sacrificing them to these false gods. No, our bodies, meaning we go out there and labor. We doing exactly the same thing we just read. We're day laborers, presenting our bodies to the Most High. It says, a living sacrifice, wholly acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. So those first year without spot, unblemished, it says were a sweet savor to the Most High when they were burned on the altar. The smoke will be going up, and it was as if, you know, you in somebody's house and they cooking, and you smell the aroma of the food, and you like, this is gonna be tasting good, right? You start smelling that aroma. So when the Most High had us, the Levites, go and offer up that sacrifice on the altar, the smoke would go up, and it would be as if the Most High was smelling the offering coming up off the altar. But now it's our bodies. So he's saying, when you read it in other scriptures, it talks about that our sacrifice would be a sweet savor to the Most High. Meaning, when we go out there and we do good deeds, good works, that's going up to the Most High, and he's now also taking that in too. It's like, man, this is good. I see him doing that. I see him. Now the aroma is all rising up of all of our spiritual sacrifices being done every day, and the Lord is seeing it. Back then, sacrifices happened every day. There was a morning and an evening sacrifice, right? There was a sacrifice for the Sabbath, a sacrifice for the new moon, a sacrifice for the rededication of the altar, open and closing, and then every day in between. So we had sacrifices that went on every day. It wasn't just one time. So it's the same thing for us. If we are the living sacrifice now, we have to do something every day to have that sweet savor go up, right? We don't want to have a Most High and Yahushua come sit at the table and they ain't smelling nothing. It's like, damn, when they gonna start cooking? When they gonna start cooking? I'm getting hungry here, right? So they need to see each and every one individually to go and do something that's going to now have that sweet savor or aroma now go up to the Most High individually, right? That's what we want. Because like the day laborers, everybody's going to get their reward, right? Or or some of us going to get checked, right? Somebody's going to get checked on the work that they did. I'm going to end off with this. Go to 1 Corinthians. 1 Corinthians, 3rd chapter. First Corinthians 3:13. Everybody got it? So it says, every man's work shall be made manifest, right? So you a day laborer, you working in this, every man's work is going to be examined. It's going to be examined for what it is that you're doing, right? At Esau's job, they have that same type of methodology where they now want to give rewards or bonuses, but everybody now has to go through their own, yearly, I forgot what they call it, where, they look at a review of what you did for the year, right? And they'll say, well, when I'm checking the reports here, you did that there, you did that there, but yeah, other people, they doing like triple what you're doing, right? So we're going to give you a 2% raise, right? A 2% raise. I mean, like 2%, the average is 3. Well, this shit, you know, that's what it is. And then you now come out and like 2%, right? Then you go and find one of your other colleagues, they got a 4% raise. Now you all mad, like the brother I was in. Now you upset. You're like, hold on, how he get a 4% raise and I get a 2% raise? My work is good as him. Hey, I'm the one. I'm the good man. Ain't I'm the one examining your work? I don't think that your work is good enough, right? I'm the one that has that authority. That's what the boss of the company says. So here, Yahushua through the Spirit, Paul through the Spirit of Yahushua is saying the same thing. Every man's work shall be made manifest, for the day shall declare it, because it shall be revealed by fire, and the fire shall try every man's work of what sort it is. Meaning, as far as for this hell that we're in right now, as you go through whatever it is every man or woman goes through daily, it's going to be put to the test. Like it tells you in 1 Peter 1:7. Your goal has to be tried in the fire. If you are serving, if you're a day laborer, if you wanted his, you got to go through the fire. You got to go through family issues. You got to go through work issues. You got to go through physical issues, whether it be health issues. You got to go through those things to see how your mind state is going to be. What are your thoughts going to be when you go on? Are you going to reject the Most High? That's what Job had to go through, right? The Most High had Satan go and touch his body, put boils on him, kill his family members, right? Now, let's see how you're going to deal with that. Now, we got to now make sure that all the evil thoughts and the evil things that you want to do or you would have done, you won't think to exercise those. Job was great. He had little problems, though. Right, when you read it, he did have some problems when you read that and towards the end of the chapter. But for the most part, he stood on his foundation, and he didn't take heed to what his wife was saying and other people were saying. That's what we're going through. Our work is going to be made manifest through the fire that's going on, that we are now have to endure in the world. Verse 14: If any man's work abide, which he have built thereupon, he shall receive a reward. If it's accepted. What if it abides, meaning now it's accepted? Once you are accepted and found worthy, you'll get your penny. You'll get your penny, like we just read in Matthew 20. If it abides, if it's found worthy, if it met the measure, right? Verse 15, it says, if any man's work shall be burned, meaning that while it was in the fire, it got burned up, it got scalded, it wasn't accepted, he shall suffer loss, right? It says, but he himself shall be saved, yet so as by fire. What does that mean? It's a complex verse right there. You got two different types of burning going on here. I'm going to read it again. If any man's work shall be burned, he shall suffer loss. But he himself shall be saved, yet so as by fire. Huh?
That's coming into the kingdom as a baby.
You asking?
I'm making a statement. Okay, yes. That's coming into the kingdom by a baby. In other words, he's going to burn up. He's going to get the hellfire, but he's going to be saved in the end.
I say a test, fire test.
Mm-hmm.
Fire that something to go through. When we try by fire.
Right. So we've already established that in verse 13, right? Verse 14 and 15 is now looking at the two different types of people. One whose work was been accepted while going through the fire, right? The other, his work got burned up while going through the fire, right? So both of them, like it tells you in the book of Romans, all Israel shall be saved. All Israel shall be saved, but it's how you're going to be saved, right? So Gabar is right when he talks about that person who was in 15 when he went out and did out the work and he wasn't sincere, he didn't do enough work, and his work got burned up. It says, yet he shall be saved, yet so as by fire. So he's going to have to go through that hellfire, the fire that found with fire and burneth with fire and brimstone that you read in Revelation. He has to go through that. And then, yes, he'll come back in the reincarnation. He'll still get saved, right? They'll come back and receive all of those benefits of us being in the kingdom. But for the first trip, somebody's going to get a reward and someone is going to get a punishment, right? Because the work didn't measure up, right? Or he didn't do enough. Remember the same thing in the parable that Yahushua gave about the tokens, where he gave the token to the one brother and he said, listen, I was afraid and I hid it, right? He didn't do the work. He hid it. The talent that was given to him, he didn't do. And Yahushua said, I'm going to take that from you and give it to somebody else. But you are going to have to be punished. You are going to be destroyed for not doing the work that you was required and ordained to do. That's the same thing that's going to happen to this person in verse 15, right? So that's all of us. That's anybody. For the day laborers, right now we're all day laborers in this hired servant. We got to go and make sure the work is acceptable every day, that it's acceptable. You want to store more treasures up in heaven than, sins, right? If your sins outweigh your blessings, then you're going to be verse 15. You're going to have to come back in the reincarnation. And some people may be they may be cool with that. But best believe the 1/3 are going to have a name that the 2/3 will not. Right? That's like us reading about Daniel right now. While he was in Babylon, Daniel's name rings out. Right? The 3 holy children, their names ring out. Why? Because they stood with the Most High Yahushua. Joseph's name rings out. So all of these people, all of us now, when we get into the kingdom, we're going to have a righteous name. It wouldn't make sense to say Gabar went and exuded verse 14. His work stood the test of time. It was found worthy. But that guy was wicked as hell. He was wicked. He didn't do what he was supposed to do. He can't even blaspheme. Would the Most High now exalt his name right next to your name? No. Right? You got to come back in reincarnation, and everybody else's name is going to have I think it's Proverbs 23, a good name. I think Zaquan was reading that during the Sabbath service yesterday, right? You want to have that good name that's far beyond rubies and any gold or any precious thing. The name will stand the test of time.
Another way to look at present ourselves as a living sacrifice is to think of yourself like who you are. Your essence is meant to profit from other people. It's meant to profit your people. Who you are is meant. Who you are, your whole being in its righteousness is not for you to profit. It's meant to profit others. When you get to that level to understand, when we get to that level to understand that, then we really understand what the Most High meant about living sacrifice and being charity. Charity.
That verse I was looking for was 22:1 Proverbs.
And an example I usually give is you never see a fruit benefit itself. It produces for other people. Right? The orange don't even benefit orange. Orange benefit people that come in, feeds off the orange, feeds off the apple. So who we are as a fruit is supposed to be for the benefit of other people. That's presenting ourselves a living sacrifice. Just like Yahushua presented himself a living sacrifice. Whatever he was doing it for us.
That's 1 Corinthians chapter 10. 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 33. Even as I please all men in all things, not seeking my own profit, but the profit of many, that they may be saved. Right? So the intent is
What is it?
1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 33. That's the unfeigned love that you have for this work, that you do it without seeking some type of reward from amongst your peers or amongst those that have come in. You're just doing it just because it's a good deed and you want to see that person do well or succeed or elevate, right? Like you said, this person becomes the father of Egypt. When you read in the scriptures, Paul was like a father figure, right, to those disciples, right? And he called some of them his son. But now, if you look at it in the carnal manner, a father wants his children to be better than him, right? A parent wants their children to succeed them. You may set up certain things for your children, but you want them to go on and be better than you, right? That gives you great joy. So now when you look at anyone that comes into this truth, you shouldn't want to sit up and be always better than them. Nah, because that means what example you setting ain't good, right? Or what you giving them is not good enough. So you want them to pass or surpass you in doing what it is that they're doing. That's why Yahushua said, you're going to go and do greater works than me, right? Man, I ain't going to, you see Yahushua, I'm going to do something better than that. But that's what he wanted.
And if we don't do that, we don't present ourselves and we don't do for them so that they can become greater, we are. Because we stole from them, become better in the next generation.
Right. Paul didn't even want no money. He didn't want nothing from them. He's like, I'm not in debt. None of y'all can bring any accusation to me that I burdened y'all, I did something. Right. Some people do that. Right. Some people go out there and take money, for certain things personally. Not Paul. He set another example as well. Right. All right. So we're going to conclude tonight's service. We're going to say again, Ashar Kadash in the Hebrew, Happy New Moon. This is the 10th new moon within our calendar year. We're still in the midst of the feast of the rededication of the altar. So also Happy Hanukkah, or Happy Hanukkah, as they say in English, to those who are aware and are keeping the feast day. Most High as well, everybody's enjoying it. You're trying to do certain things each day, whether it be reading, cooking, doing certain things in the spirit of the day, checking out certain documentaries or whatever it may be doing, going out and teaching or doing something during that week just to make sure that Romans 12:1 is being exuded, right? You're living up to those things and you're living up to those expectations that the Most High Yahushua has for you. So again, Ashar Kadash, Ashar Hanukkah, Most High as well, everybody is in good spirits this week. But those who are going through some troubles or illnesses and things of that nature, make sure the body, we all pray for one another, for the betterment, not just for yourself, but for others, that they can be in good spirits and good health, especially in these last days with what's going on outside of within the world of Israel. There's a lot of outside forces that may also bring certain people down. So we pray for each other and uplift each other's spirits. All right. So with that, I'm going to say Shalom again. Happy new moon. Happy feast of the dedication. Stay tuned for the closing prayers. Barakatha Yahweh, Ba'Hashem Yahweh Shai, Asherah, Nathan Lanawa, Par Yahagapan, Thwada Amun, La Yahweh, Ba'Hashem Yahweh Shai, Ath Yasha Allah. English translation, Most High, Salak, blessed are you in the name of Yahweh, Salak, blessed are you Yahweh in the name of Yahweh Shai, or the Most High in the name of Christ, that gives to us the fruit of the vine. Thank you, so be it. To Yahweh in the name of Yahweh Shai with Israel. I might upon you all Jerusalem, stand and face Jerusalem. Yahweh, Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shai, Baba Kwashai, Shemai, Lanawa, Aitha, Yum Yun, Aitha, Shalak, Mayaka Allah, Waha Allah Hayim, Tazwadakim, La, Shemal Barak, Rapah, Magun, Wahakaziyak, Banya, Yasha'Allah, Washalat, Lanawa, Rabiam, Kakama, Rabiam, Da'ai, Rabiam, Bayana, Rabiam, Sabalanwa, Rabiam, Amawan, Rabiam, Aqua, Rabiam, Ahabiam, Rabiam, Haganah, Rakhanaya, Wasalat, Ko, Kata Ayamnawa, Laha'akim, Wa'akiwa, Wayasha'Allah, Yad, Wa'iwalam, Ba'asham, Yahawashai, Thawada, Amun. Most English translation, Most High, in the name of Christ, bless, pleasing to us now, right now. Send Michael and the righteous powers or angels to watch over, bless, heal, protect, and make strong the children of Israel. And send to us much wisdom, much knowledge, much understanding, much patience, much faith, much brotherhood, much love, much spiritual protection, and forgive all our sins for the brothers and sisters in Israel, always and forever. In the name of Yahweh Shai, thank you. So be it. Four corners prayer. Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Barak Nawa, Wayasha'Allah, Wabathya Saparim, Shema, Yasharella, Yahweh, Allah Hayanawa, Yahweh, All right, English translation. Most High, in the name of Christ, bless us and Israel in the house of books of schools, in Deuteronomy 6:4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our power is one power. The blessing for the food. Yahweh, Gadawal, Bahasham, Adawanya, Yahweh Shai, Babakusha, Barak, Ma'akal, Yanawa, Shatayawa, Yanawa, Yayan, Yanawa, Lakam, Yanawa, Shakarai, Yanawa, Zakad, Shaw, Hayarak, Kadash, Basham, Yahawashai, Thawada, Amun. All right. So with that, again, happy new moon and Shah Kadash Israel. Most High's will, everybody has a blessed new moon. And Lord's will, we'll here see each other for the closing of the rededication of the altar Tuesday evening. All right. Shalom.
Shalom.